Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, a channel about making computer role-playing games using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. So, 21 days ago, I asked a question. Is it possible to make a complete dungeon crawl in 25 days using Twine? And I now know the answer. No, it really isn't. It isn't even possible to come close. I have made some mistakes along the way in this project. I spent a bit of time chasing particular techniques that didn't end up working. But even if I hadn't done that, and even if I had worked, say, twice as many hours, I don't believe that I would have gotten something done in 25 days that was up to the standard that I set myself at the beginning of this project. I think that I might have been able to do something that barely qualified as a dungeon crawl, but it wouldn't have met the requirements that I listed at the beginning of this project, which included multiple classes, a magic system, multiple levels, and so on. So, in this video, I'd like to talk about why I made that mistake, because when I started, I was fairly confident. I had done a different project in 30 days, and I thought, well, this is simpler, because what I did in my previous project was an entire story. I had to write the whole plot. I had to write every incident and connect them all and deal with all of the possibilities, because of course it's not a story, it's a choose your own adventure, so multiple different things can happen. I have to make sure that every possible path makes sense. Whereas with a dungeon crawl, that's just sort of wandering around a maze fighting monsters. So that should be much easier. Well, if I was starting from scratch, that logic might have applied. If I was starting with a general programming language like C, what I said might have been true. But I wasn't. I was using Twine, and Twine is specifically made to make choose your own adventure style stories, and therefore every element of setting up a choose your own adventure style story is pretty much done for you. If you want to do a project that's more than that or different to that, the more differences you have or the more things you add on, the more work that's going to involve. And a dungeon crawl is completely different to that. I underestimated the amount of work that the underlying infrastructure took, and I overestimated the amount of work that the plot took, I guess. And I thought, well, a dungeon crawl has very little plot. My previous project has a lot of plot, therefore this should be easier. And that is not true. The underlying infrastructure is much of the work. Doing a very simple combat system is a lot of work. Doing a very simple system for monster reactions is a lot of work, even when it's very simple to describe. So, what am I going to do from now on? Well, I'm going to close the 25-day challenge early. And in a future video, I'm going to do what I already had planned, which is go back to my previous project, Beneath an Emerald Sky, and talk about how we can improve it. So I'll be adding to the plot. I will be writing a system to automatically test it for balance, and we will see how much we can improve that game. Then we will return to this project, and we'll return to it with a more realistic idea of how long it's going to take to get finished. After that, I do have a plan for what I'm going to do after that, but that is quite a long way in the future, and so I will talk about that when we get to it. So in short, I'm putting this project aside a little bit early, and I'm starting early on trying to improve Beneath an Emerald Sky, the sword and planet-based choose your own adventure game, which was my previous project. So I will leave it there for now. I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.